Okay, I have my root beer and I'm ready to go. Witness, witness. I must get back to work. I must get back to doing the work that everyone sees as nothing, but I know is everything. Depression crashes right through the front door, and before you know it, you're pushing up daisies or worse yet, sleeping your life away. We are the dreamers. And though we may appear stagnant, nothing could be further from the truth. We are the provocateurs causing trouble the livelong day, knowing that whistling while you work will only bring you that much closer to the graveyard. We are the fast food slaves who refuse to serve you any longer because you're obese. And that zero trans fat doesn't seem to be doing you much good. I'm sleeping on my mother's floor, 45, 46, 47, 48 years old, with no clue what to do next, but I swear, I do have an end game. It's just one I choose to keep even from myself. I want to tell you how I feel, but being ignored on Facebook is somehow worse than being ignored in person. I need something I can believe in. Someone I can sink my teeth into, who will return the favor and make me feel alive again. I have all the belief in myself that one person can possibly muster, but still, that is not nearly enough to carry me over the threshold and deliver me to the promised land. I am a witness, though I swear to Christ, what I have witnessed so far does not impress me, nor does it give me much faith in the living dead. I must return to some semblance of normal. I must stop feeling guilty for anything and everything I've ever done. It's not about pulling yourself up by your bootstraps, but instead about keeping it together when the shit is constantly hitting the fan and even the shit has had enough. This paralysis I have been wrestling with has begun to not feel so awful. And that is neither acceptable nor something I would wish on my worst enemy. Read this poem for Bob Dylan's Invisible Self and for Dan Clute. True love tends to forget. It's 2 a.m. and I'm listening with headphones to Street Legal, ripped from the original vinyl. And yes, that makes all of the difference. I have never understood those who criticize this record. It's his voice catching me off guard every time. He sounds like he's in the darkness with no rehabilitation or recovery in sight. Maybe that's the trouble. This record is too full of unvarnished truth and dire consequences, with no smoke or mirrors to tamp down the flames, as this man burns alive right before our unsympathetic ears. What if Bob Dylan's just a man and feels things just like any human being does? What if Bob Dylan's one of those truly rare artists who can take everything brewing inside of them and pour it onto the page, onto the stage, with no self-restraint or self-censorship? What if Bob Dylan hears in his What if what Bob Dylan hears in his head is exactly what we're experiencing on this record? There is absolutely nothing wrong with the original mix. In fact, I think the so-called muddy sound just brings us closer To the alienated state of affairs, this record slices through like a Jewish ninja hell-bent on self-reconstruction as they look for the cure or catch-all to bring everything back into focus. If I'm here in the morning, baby, you'll know. You'll know I've survived. Great fucking record. Chicken wings. My lips are burning from the buffalo wing sauce. I still want to try the spicy chicken wings at this Chinese restaurant in Chicago. The first time I ever ate chicken wings was when I was working at J.R. Miggs in Columbus, Ohio. We bask in the complex simplicity of our lives, when what we need to be doing is asking the hard questions like, why is everything so messed up? We need to wake up and smell the coffee and begin wrapping our heads around the fact that capitalism is failing us and democracy is a big fat lie. What happened to the division of church and state? And why are we allowing any religious group the right to decide our rights for us? Jesus Christ was a teacher and a Jew, not a politician or a Christian. I don't have a clue what this poem is about, or why I started talking about chicken wings and then morphed into how fucked up things are. Perhaps the state of the world and the state of my chicken wings has something in common, or maybe I'm just losing my mind one tasty chicken wing at a time. I got extra blue cheese dressing to bathe the chicken wings in. I must admit that biting into a chunk of blue cheese and then tasting that flaming hot buffalo wing sauce is quite a diabolical and richly rewarding combination. Soon, I pray I'll be returning to Chicago, and I really do hope I can talk my friend into returning to that chicken restaurant, that Chinese restaurant in Albany Park, because their spicy pork is damn near as good as it gets. It really was. Breaking bread. Breaking bread with our eyes wide open. Miracles happen every day to everyone. It doesn't matter which wave you choose to ride, because they'll all bring you to the shore eventually. There's a family dynamic about you that I picked up from the first moment we met. I could tell that you like to take care of people, and I really hope you also allow people to take care of you. When we were led out of Egypt, it's you I would have wanted by my side, because I know you wouldn't have let anything bad happen to me. Plus, you would have laughed at all of my inappropriate jokes. I've never been a very strong swimmer, so even when the Red Sea parted, I would have still wanted to hold the hand of someone who would have talked me through our crossing. The desert is a deprived place that is not recommended to get lost in. The bootlegged sun will have you hallucinating before you know it. I believe even Moses must have had some serious second thoughts as he brought his people forth into a land where nothing was what it appeared to be. It goes without saying that listening to a strange burning bush will oftentimes get you into trouble, regardless if your intentions are good and you believe in this vision quest. Breaking down because everything seems hopeless and without a solution in sight. Trust yourself to find the path where there is no if and when. You are the miracle, breaking through a new level of consciousness with every step that you take. There is strength, there is love, And there is so much healing beauty in your readiness to evolve. My mind map number 4. I know I'm getting close to something, even though I don't know what it is. I refuse to even use the word truth because that's a word used far too often and is losing whatever street cred it may have once possessed. My poetry is like a Play-Doh factory, and I'll keep pushing it out in all the many colors of the rainbow, because that's what arrested adolescents do as they wait for the paramedics to arrive. I remember being 15 years old at Max Back's Paperbacks on Coventry in Cleveland Heights, Ohio. Suzanne welcomed me as I entered the bookstore, and I've never once looked back. Having the opportunity to finally get up and share whatever this is that was taking shape on the page is the best fix I've ever had, and no drug could ever even come close to taking its place. I like to think I am a romantic when nothing could be further from the truth. I'm just a misshapen little man who does not shower enough and lets his beard grow because he's too lazy to fish out the electric razor from beneath the sink. There is a slight possibility, though, that I have a great intellect, or at least that is what I was once told by some paranoid freak who believed the voices he was hearing might actually be divulging some earth-shattering information to his mind map. To be perfectly honest, I had never heard the word intellect before he had said it, and when I told him that, he thought I was fucking with him. I ended up playing him an advanced copy of Dylan's record Down in the Groove, so everything sorta kinda worked itself out in its own way. I know I'm close to striking oil or finding the next big thing. Then again, maybe I'm just another little boy whose eyes are bigger than his stomach. I refuse to believe I've come this far only to have to now stop panning for gold. My own street cred dried up eons ago, yet still I will never stop swinging for the fences, even though I absolutely hate sports and the metaphors that go along with them. Close my eyes. I'll read this for Jim Pauley. Rest in peace, my friend. Close my eyes. I am going to close my eyes and go to bed, turn off the phone and forget I was ever here. I am loving myself and wish you would join the festivities without any hard feelings or passive-aggressive tendencies. I am going to get on my knees and pray to God, even if I have my doubts about this Creator that so many people seem to hold in such high esteem. I am going to close my eyes, and when I open them, either you'll be in love with me or you'll be gone. You choose, and please, don't clear your throat because you know how much I hate spoiler alerts. After just now taking a shower, I forgot to clean my ears, which means my hearing probably won't be up to par. I am telling you this so you won't think I'm choosing to ignore you, but instead will understand that hearing or not hearing you is out of my control. They told me sleep would be like a temporary death, and yet my dreams keep me awake, and the little sleep I did get made me even more jealous of the ghosts inside the machine. I will never forget sitting in that ice cream parlor in Chicago eating a turtle sundae with my good friend as Bob told us something only dead men know. Bring yourself back down to earth, and I promise I'll be here when you get back. We can continue where we left off, or even better, we can start all over again, just like the pioneers did before Silicon Valley took over our lives. I am going to close my eyes and finally wake up. Turn off the television and forgive myself for all the wrongs that I've done. And that includes never cleaning my mother's condo up to her rigorous and ransacked standards. I'm in the process of rediscovering myself, and I wish you'd either join the party or leave the building, because your silent treatment is worse than electroshock therapy to my Peter Cottontail soul. A gateway to the world between worlds. I did not come to bring peace, but a sword. Listen to those words and know there is more here than meets the eye, nose, and throat. The eyes can only reveal so much if the door is shut, while our passions drag us kicking and screaming through the desert, naked and frozen with self-recriminations. Take your demonic ideals and shove them where the sun doesn't shine. I never claimed to possess any moral virtue, not even when I was a child and existed inside tumors of cancerous self-doubt. When you live at someone else's expense, the beckoning you do is rarely your own. You die a little inside each day because you're a crustacean and your shell is ill-fitting. But blaming other crustaceans is not going to change a damn thing or make you any less delicious when sautéed in butter. Ring Around the Rosie was a playground singing game before it became a hellacious threat scaring adults and children alike. Woohoo! I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. The writing was on the wall long before Moses led the Jews out of Egypt, or you were probed by your first touchy-feely alien. There's nothing wrong with listening to your heart, as long as you know not all heart murmurs speak the truth or are interested in helping you find some honest to goodness happiness. Wrote this next poem, Reluctant Hero, for Bill Cohen. I'm a reluctant hero, but please, please, don't ask why. I do not deserve whatever accolades you may feel like bestowing upon me. Give them to someone who actually looks good wearing medals and being led around like a prized poodle. I'm just a poet. Nothing more and a whole lot less. When it comes time for dinner, I'll be the first one sitting at the table and the last one to get up before stretching and going to bed. I'm a reluctant bank robber, but please, please don't ask why. It was never about amassing wealth or scaring people by pointing a gun at them. I think it has more to do with the thrill of doing something out of the ordinary, even though robbing banks seems to be becoming more of an everyday happening with each passing day. Examine your own needs. Do it selflessly and selfishly. Do it with unmitigated abandon, and do it in the road. Do it while wearing a blindfold and smoking a cigarette. You are a flawed human specimen, and when held up to the light, You're also a reluctant hero, with countermeasures and counter offers, making up for lost time and lost wages. I stood up too fast, from an un, and from an insufficient amount of oxygen to the brain, I nearly fainted. Poetry is the IV drip I find necessary to keep me hydrated and full of good vibrations. It's most certainly not a cure-all, but it's also far from snake oil, as I discover myself for the first time in a very long time receptive to going outside and feeling the sun on my pasty skin. I'm channeling a different kind of development, having far more to do with internal fluctuations than anything that can be looked at under a microscope. I waited in the waiting room for you to come out, knowing full well you had more than likely slipped out a back door because our relationship had been on the skids for quite some time. We had become reluctant heroes to our inability, Dawn, to express why it was we felt so lifeless and had no get up and go. Train yourself to become an assassin and break on through to the other side, because only then will you have any chance at reconciling with your inner self. I'm not talking about passing away, but instead about living through the reconnecting with all of your most reluctant of senses. This one's called Gone with the Wind. These were all written in 2014. Excuse me. Gone with the Wind. I've never seen Gone with the Wind. That's a true story. I want to get to know Hattie McDaniel on a first-name basis. It's time I made something happen with my life, but frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. You think you know everything only to realize you've barely scratched the surface. I couldn't find any Windex when I was at the store, so I bought Value Time Glass Cleaner instead. It appears to do the same job for half the price. Isn't that the way that it always is? I'm not opposed to the less expensive generic brands because I often feel like I am the generic brand and that there is a name brand Charles Cicirella running around out there. Keep your eyes and heart peeled because you could happen upon your soulmate at any moment. There's no telling if you'll hit it off. But if you don't give it a shot, you'll never know if you could have been happier than you presently are. We bring our children up to believe that anything is possible. Truth be told, we don't honestly know if such a thing is even true, but what's the harm in dreaming and spreading some good cheer? I think it's high time I saw Gone with the Wind. We all need to get our Margaret Mitchell on before we sink into the deep sleep. It's time I made something of my life, and Rhett Butler's enthrallment with Scarlett will not diminish my own desires in the least little bit. Right. I want to read this for Juliet. Coffee beans. Words appear in my head and I write them down. It's that simple, even though simplicity has nothing to do with it. The point is not the complexity of the task at hand. When it comes to degrees of difficulty, I'm as lost as you, and in need of a stiff drink and an even stiffer upper lip. Reveal everything about yourself by looking deeply into my eyes. I promise before we're through, we'll either have fallen in love with each other or fallen out of another poor excuse for what may have passed for a relationship in another century. I always believed your sense of style was timeless until realizing you were receiving your best ideas from someone else's magazine cover shoot where all the models suffer from eating disorders and believe the objectification of one's body is a small price to pay for immortality and a six-figure salary. The coffee beans were over roasted and tasted burnt, but that's okay. I prefer my coffee well done and my morning Danish to be filled with cheese and endless regret, just like I preferred you lying in bed looking up at me with your crescent moon-shaped eyes before we visited the church for the final time. Words appear in my head, and I either accept the task at hand or I do my best to ignore it. If I choose to ignore it, I'll never live it down, because the words will haunt me like sourdough ghosts in the heart of the Tenderloin in San Francisco. I'm a poet. I'm not a rabbi, police chief, or CPA. I'm unpaid and constantly on guard, but those are the choices that I've made. The sacrifice was the easy part. The hard part starts now, as I do my best to figure out why I was forsaken and to whom I should take my complaints to. Another poem about Bob Dylan, number 3. I'm walking through streets that are dead. Headphones on, receiving orders from Central Cocoon. His voice, a paintbrush. His every line delivers nostalgia and new birth simultaneously. My feet are so tired, Dan. My brain is so wired. And the clouds, Linda, are weeping. We're soldiers on the front line of nothing. Nothing new, nothing old. It's all been done to death before. He arrived in New York City and he broke new ground by simply doing nothing more than showing up and paying attention. I'm listening to a man who continues to give a damn as he hides in plain sight and brings us together faultlessly, decade after decade. Sometimes, Jeff, the silence can be like thunder. Sometimes, Bob, all I want to do is throw in the towel. Then I put on one of your records or live performances, and I'm reminded that quitting is not an option. Getting on the tour bus and heading for another joint, sleeping in one strange hotel after another, has to get old. And yet you've proven beyond the shadow of any doubt the metal you're made of, and that a song and dance man is truly what you are and always have been. I spoke like a child. You destroyed me with a smile. War is hell. The fog of war cannot be trusted. Do you believe you have a better half? What do you think that better half is doing right now? Obfuscation's just another word for smokescreen. Like Jerry Lewis is just another 2 words for overrated hack. I was in the trenches and I could hardly catch my breath. There were all these Germans in close proximity, and I prayed they could not smell my Jewish blood. Yes, I'm still very much a pacifist, but sometimes you must allow your moral imperatives to lapse so you can finish off the bullies with your semi-automatic fists. I used to tell people I'm a lover, not a fighter. Now I ask people to buy me a double bacon cheeseburger and call it a day. You don't have to worry about getting lost in the woods, because these particular woods were created by the Brothers Grimm, and nothing happens in them except that which has already been written down and committed to a child's fragile eggshell mind. Thank you, Jim Morrison. Someone slipped a red herring in my Coca-Cola, and before I knew it, I was off on another wild goose chase. Agatha Christie called, and she wants her 10 little Indians back with interest. She also wanted me to tell you there's no real point in solving a mystery when there'll just be another one, and another one, and another one after that. Shifting sands. I'm irrelevant. The guy with the leaf blower is out back. I don't have any leaves to offer him, and I cannot believe it's fall again. The sand is shifting beneath my bare feet. I've always found sand between my toes to be such an unsettling sensation. There's no accounting for taste. But the way a person chooses to end their own life tells a lot about someone. I'm going to go hide in the closet because I'm petrified of what my bones might do when left to their own devices. I know we've been here countless times before, but please understand, I didn't plan any of this. My writing is automatic, like my feelings are automatic, not automated, you dumb fuck. Please forgive me my trespasses, and I promise to forgive you for when you walked in on me when I was wearing nothing but my sarcasm and a red clown nose. The information I possess is erroneous at the best of times and completely off the reservation at the worst of times. The code word is still Exodus. So be sure to tell all of your Gentile friends to make room, because the chosen people are coming, and negotiating has never been one of our strong suits. And if you think I'm one of those self-hating Jews, please know, there is nothing I covet more than my Jewish ancestry. That does not mean I suffer fools gladly, though, nor will I put up with any of your Catholic guilt. I'm unspecified. The silence is deafening. I don't have any qualms about admitting I've lost my mind. I also don't have a problem admitting that I have stopped giving a shit a long, long time ago. Thanks for listening. My name is Charles Eric Cicirella, CEC, and thanks so much for being here. And check out my other poetry videos and other. I got some band videos up there from when I was playing in some bands, Root Cellar. Thanks so much for being here, really. Subscribe to my channel, and let me know you're out there. Take care. God bless.